The hardest thing to judge is what level of risk is safe. If investing is entertaining, if you're having fun, you're probably not making any money. Good investing is boring. If I had to sum up my practical skills, I would use one word: survival. And operating a hedge fund utilized my training in survival to the fullest. I would be lying, however, if I claimed that I could always formulate worthwhile hypotheses on the basis of my theoretical framework. Sometimes there were no reflexive processes to be found, sometimes I failed to find them, and, what was the most painful of all, sometimes I got them wrong. One way or another, I often invested without a worthwhile hypothesis, and my activities were not very different from a random walk. I called gold the ultimate bubble, which means it may go higher. But it's certainly not safe, and it's not going to last forever. Markets are constantly in a state of uncertainty and flux, and money is made by discounting the obvious and betting on the unexpected. When you sell options, you get paid for assuming risk. That can be a profitable business, but it does not mix well with the risks inherent in a leveraged portfolio. The trouble with institutional investors is that their performance is usually measured relative to their peer group, and not by an absolute yardstick. This makes them trend followers by definition. When interest rates are low, we have conditions for asset bubbles to develop, and they are developing at the moment. The ultimate asset bubble is gold. The financial markets, generally are unpredictable. So that one has to have different scenarios. The idea that you can actually predict what's going to happen contradicts my way of looking at the market. Taking this view, it is possible to see financial markets as a laboratory for testing hypotheses, albeit not strictly scientific ones. The truth is, successful investing is a kind of alchemy. The concept of a general equilibrium has no relevance to the real world. In other words, classical economics is an exercise in futility. Stock market bubbles don't grow out of thin air. They have a solid basis in reality, but the reality is distorted by a misconception. In the case of a meltdown, the regulatory authorities may find themselves obliged to step in to preserve the integrity of the system. It is in that light that the authorities have both a right and an obligation to supervise and regulate derivative instruments. When money is free, the rational lender will keep on lending until there is no one else to lend to. A global economy is characterized not only by the free movement of goods and services but, more important, by the free movement of ideas and of capital. The generally accepted view is that markets are always right. That is, market prices tend to discount future developments accurately, even when it is unclear what those developments are. I start with the opposite view. I believe the market prices are always wrong, in the sense that they present a biased view of the future. Money values do not simply mirror the state of affairs in the real world. Valuation is a positive act that makes an impact on the course of events. Monetary and real phenomena are connected in a reflexive fashion, that is, they influence each other mutually. The reflexive relationship manifests itself most clearly in the use and abuse of credit. Making an investment decision is like formulating a scientific hypothesis and submitting it to a practical test. The main difference is that the hypothesis that underlies an investment decision is intended to make money and not to establish a universally valid generalization. Markets are designed to allow individuals to look after their private needs and to pursue profit. It's really a great invention, and I wouldn't underestimate the value of that. But they're not designed to take care of social needs. I contend that financial markets never reflect the underlying reality accurately. They always distort it in some way or another, and the distortions find expression in market prices. Those distortions can occasionally find ways to affect the fundamentals that market prices are supposed to reflect. It is credit that matters, not money. In other words, monetarism is a false ideology. I'm only rich because I know when I'm wrong. I basically have survived by recognizing my mistakes. I was a human being before I became a businessman. Misconceptions play a prominent role in my view of the world. Economics seeks to be a science. Science is supposed to be objective, and it is difficult to be scientific when the subject matter, the participant in the economic process, lacks objectivity. Once we realize that imperfect understanding is the human condition, there is no shame in being wrong, only in failing to correct our mistakes. We are the most powerful nation on earth. No external power, no terrorist organization can defeat us. But we can defeat ourselves by getting caught in a quagmire. The only thing that could hurt me is if my success encouraged me to return to my childhood fantasies of omnipotence. But that is not likely to happen as long as I remain engaged in the financial markets, because they constantly remind me of my limitations. If we carry this line of argument to its logical conclusion, the meaning of life consists of the flaws in one's conceptions and what one does about them. Life can be seen as a fertile fallacy. Every bubble consists of a trend that can be observed in the real world, and a misconception relating to that trend. The two elements interact with each other in a reflexive manner. I am for maximum supervision and minimum regulation.